toxic masculinity is negative. We don't want any of it. We don't want anything to do with masculinity. And there's this great article I read, and it says, the culture's answer to negative traits of manhood: make men less masculine. This is dangerous. Why? We will get more toxic masculinity from trying to make men more like women. Bad men don't start becoming good when they become less masculine. Bad men become good when they stop being bad. Aggression, violence, ambition, and risk-taking can only be harnessed. It's innate in men. Some masculine traits that bring destruction also defeat tyrannies. Traits that foster greed build economies and businesses. Traits that lead men to take foolish risks lead men to take heroic risks. The answer to toxic masculinity is not less masculinity, it's better masculinity. It looks like men opening doors, working long hours, men going to war to fight evil, and men walking responsibly in their sexuality. When men embrace their masculinity in ways that are productive, they are warriors, leaders, and heroes. The consequences of this father absence are everywhere. So that's the toxic masculinity. And there's another story I ran across about a little boy who was beginning to see himself as a man. And this lady writes, she was on a running path, and she heard an older man yelling loudly enough for her. She said, I heard an older man yelling at me loudly enough for me to hear through my headphones. And he was saying, sexy lady, hey, hey, hey. He kept screaming it. And the lady said, I decided to ignore it and just keep running. And this ignoring him made him more angry. And he lashed out and called me a name. Now, keep in mind, this man was well-dressed and appeared to be on a lunch break from his office job. And then she said, that was my trigger point when he called me the B word. I ripped off my headphones and I prepared to stand up for myself when this little boy who was walking alongside his mother and little sister in a stroller looked at the man and said, hey, that is not nice to say to her. And she didn't like you yelling at her. You shouldn't do that because she's a nice girl. I don't let anyone say mean things to people. She's a girl like my sister, and I will protect her. The man immediately was embarrassed, and he started gathering his lunch to leave. And I asked the mother if I could hug the little boy. His name was James, and I told him how grateful I was for him. And he shrugged his shoulders and said, well, I just wanted to make sure your heart was okay. According to his mother, this is a typical day in the life of James. Thank you so much to the mothers and fathers who are raising the next generation to be brave and courageous and to be little angels for those. I am so touched. This is the calling. This is the calling we're talking about, seeing ourselves differently. Part of the onslaught is the ideological warfare against our daughters. What's happening in the culture. I tell people, I know where sex trafficking starts. They go, you do? We should follow you, and then we can stop it. So I say, I do know, I believe I have a revelation of where sex trafficking starts. It doesn't start in Thailand with the Western men visiting over there. It doesn't start in Eastern Europe where the Eastern European daughters are trafficked over to Western Europe. It doesn't happen at the bus station where a runaway is being pimped out at the Newark bus station. That's not where sex trafficking starts. I believe sex trafficking starts in the junior high hallway where all a little girl hears every day of her life as a young woman in America is that the most important part of who she is her sexuality. Those are the constant messages she gets. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a young woman in our culture where everything you hear constantly is the most important part of you is your sexuality. It's these body parts you have. The whole world is pursuing that, and you have those. I can't imagine what that would be like.